Yeah. Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. I'm a headliner.
What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everybody's doing well out there today, where we're talking about some backfields I really want nothing to do with as of right now here in 2022. We have a few teams we're going to discuss, and as to why I may just be avoiding them altogether. However, before we get into the content, it's time for another giveaway. Hit the like button, because today, this may be a team that I could have included in this show, but because of this person and not really knowing what his role is going to be yet, I didn't. So that was a little bit of a sneak peek. How about a signed Cordero Patterson Atlanta Falcons jersey? Got one right here from our friends over at Pristine Auction. But here's what you got to do. We got a ton of giveaways coming up. I'm about to make a video. I don't know if I'll make it today, maybe tomorrow. Regardless, I have a stack. I have an entire corner full of things in my office to give away from Pristine Auction. I'm going to show you everything I got that's going to be coming up in upcoming episodes, so stay subscribed for that. But in order to be eligible for these giveaways, you got to leave a comment down below so I know you're interested, and make sure you have your free account signed up at pristineauction.com using the referral code HEADLINERS. Once you do that, I'll pick a random winner. We verify your account through Pristine. Done. By doing so, doesn't cost you anything. Plus, you get a $10 off coupon from Pristine Auction. Something super good to use if you want to find something for your man cave or woman cave, for that matter. But now is the time where we're going to dive in to a few teams that I'm just really not that interested in as of right now with the way things are looking in 2022. And the first one's going to be maybe a little bit of a surprise. One of the best offenses in all of football. It's the Buffalo Bills. And you may be hearing me say Buffalo, and you really don't agree, because you remember Devin Singletary, the end of 2021. He really came on hot. He helped a lot of people down the stretch. But don't forget now, they just added James Cook in the NFL draft, and they brought in Duke Johnson here in this offseason. It's already a team that doesn't really overly utilize the running back position. If you take away quarterback attempts, quarterback carries in this offense, the Bills only ran the ball with their running backs 339 times last year. That was the second fewest in the NFL. The only team with less, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They just don't run a lot with the running backs. Josh Allen is still a huge part of that running game. But here's the problem, right? Now we have a crowded backfield. I didn't even list Zach Moss on here. I don't think it even matters. I think we've been saying for years that Zach Moss just wasn't it, right? But Devin Singletary, James Cook, Duke Johnson, and Josh Allen in this rushing offense, it may be good. It may be great from an NFL perspective, but from a fantasy football perspective, this could be an absolute nightmare and a headache unless they can start the season and really commit to just one of these guys. Do I expect that? I don't think so. I mean, I think they drafted James Cook for a reason. Him and Devin Singletary kind of be a little bit of a 1-2 punch. We'll sprinkle in some Duke Johnson. We'll call it good. Josh Allen could be the goal line back. I mean, that's kind of what it looks like on paper as of right now, and kind of why I'm out on the Buffalo backfield. What about the Miami Dolphins? I mean, the Miami Dolphins, I mean, how many running backs does one team need? I mean, can we be honest here? How many do they possibly need? Their running back room in their facility looks like an episode of Hoarders at this point, because they're just everywhere. They brought in Chase Edmonds. They brought in Raheem Mostert. They already have Myles Gaskin and Salvin Ahmed. There's running backs. There's good running backs all over the place in Miami. So how are they going to utilize these guys? We know there's a new staff there, and I love Mike McDaniel as a head coach. I think he's going to have an opportunity to put together a great offense in Miami overall, but he comes from a Shanahan system, right? A system that doesn't really overly utilize one running back. They're going to use some type of revolving door and get multiple guys touches. Then you add in the fact that they've added Tyreek Hill. They have Jalen Waddle. They added Cedric Wilson. They brought back Mike Gesicki. Tons of offensive weapons. There's not going to be a ton of volume. They're not going to be a run-heavy team when they have pass-catching weapons like that. They're going to be fun to watch, but the backfield, it could definitely cause, some hair loss, and I can't afford that. So I'm going to be avoiding the Miami Dolphins. How about the Philadelphia Eagles? This one's kind of like a maybe almost every year occurrence over the past couple years, at least, because there's a lot to unpack here, right? You have a crowded backfield with Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott. You have a quarterback who is arguably one of the top rushing quarterbacks in all of the NFL with Jalen Hurts. And then you have a coach that just doesn't really want to seem to develop a running game in Nick Sirianni. Does anyone out there, by a show of hands in the comment section, trust Nick Sirianni with the coaching decisions in Philadelphia? Because I hear it all the time from Philadelphia Eagles fans, how this guy just seems to just not, he's got commitment issues. I think we can say that at the least. He just has a hard time committing to a running game. He has a hard time really committing to anything, right? I don't think he's really committed in the past to developing Jalen Hurts the right way with the weapons that he had. Now they've added A.J. Brown. Hopefully that helps as well, but we know they want to throw the ball more. If they didn't, they wouldn't have brought in A.J. Brown. They want to move the ball down the field. They have Devontae Smith. It's going to be an overall solid offense for sure. I'm not going to say the Eagles are going to be bad. They're very improved here in 2022 from the NFL side of things, but for fantasy football, I just can't go out there and risk it with one of these guys and at least be dependent on them here in 2022. It could literally be a different guy every single week. We always think it's going to be Miles Sanders, and then for whatever reason, it just isn't. So that's a huge headache there. Philadelphia on my list of backfields, more than likely I'm going to avoid here in 2022. How about the Washington Commandos? We're going to call it going commando here because it's just it's another example of kind of what we talked about in Philadelphia. Maybe it's an NFC East thing. Never really thought of it like that, but Ron Rivera just doesn't want to commit to one guy either. We saw it last year with Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick. Well, then we thought J.D. McKissick had left and gone to Buffalo, and we were pumped. And then J.D. McKissick came back from Buffalo. He signed with the Washington Commandos, and we're like, all right, at least we kind of know what to expect. And then in the NFL draft, the Washington Commandos went out and drafted Brian Robinson out of Alabama, and we're already hearing things from Ron Rivera come out saying he kind of wants to recreate the old school Jonathan Taylor, D'Angelo Williams type of backfield from Carolina, now in Washington with Robinson and Gibson, and then we'll sprinkle in some J.D. McKissick. That, from a fantasy football perspective, is an absolute nightmare. They also brought in Carson Wentz to try to improve their passing game. They spent a first-round pick on Jahan Dotson, a wide receiver, to move the ball down the field more. And now we have basically a three-way split in the backfield with what's looking like Brian Robinson could get some goal line work. That just spells disaster for this running back backfield from a fantasy football perspective. So Washington, another team, more than likely not too interested in here in 2022. How about... this one shouldn't be a surprise. This is the Houston Texans. I don't know if anybody's really interested hardly in anything in Houston outside of maybe Brandon Cooks. Maybe. I mean, outside of that, I don't know if anybody's really interested in anything here in Houston. I mean, they're kind of trying to emulate Miami. It seems like they're going to hoard a buttload of running backs. But I mentioned with Miami that they got some good running back depth, right? These are good guys they got. Houston... they got like the leftovers, right? They're just hoarding all the leftovers. Marlon Mack, Rex Burkhead, Dare Ogunbowale, Olawala Bing Bang. I don't know how to say it. I'm sorry. I still haven't learned after years. Royce Freeman, and then they just drafted Dameon Pierce out of Florida. This is not a team that's going to have a lead very often. They're going to be splitting between multiple backs. Who is it going to be? Which one is the pass-catching back? Which one is going to be the goal line guy? It's going to be a constant revolving door of suck in Houston, and I'm not that interested, if I'm being completely honest. How about the Seattle Seahawks? This one may make your ears perk up a little bit, right? Because I'm sure a lot of people aren't going to be a fan of this pick, but it's not because I don't like the players in the backfield or the team that they're on. It has nothing to do with that. It's that I just don't trust Pete Carroll to not play with our fantasy emotions here in 2022. So we know they drafted Kenneth Walker. We know they brought back Rashad Penny. In my mind, I feel like they're just going to run Rashad Penny into the ground on the last year of his deal, sprinkle in some Kenneth Walker, get him acclimated, and then he takes over next year. To me, that makes logical sense. But I don't trust that that's what's going to happen in Seattle. Now, if it was just Rashad Penny, sure, I'll take a stab on it. The guy's kind of injury prone, but it is what it is. If it was just going to be Kenneth Walker's backfield, okay, we'll roll with that because he's definitely going to have a huge opportunity. But another team that I don't expect to have a whole lot of leads, right? Our opposing defense is going to be scared enough of Drew Lock and Geno Smith that they're not going to stack the boxes against these guys. Plus, honestly, as of right now, technically, we don't know about Chris Carson. Is he coming back or not? They still have Travis Homer, DJ Dallas, and don't forget somebody who's not even listed on the graphic here, Darwin Thompson came over from Kansas City. So they're another team that has a lot of running backs, and I just don't trust Pete Carroll to make the right decisions for my fantasy team. I have a feeling it would just work out perfectly, right? You draft Rashad Penny, Kenneth Walker's the guy. You draft Kenneth Walker, Rashad Penny stays healthy and runs the season. Like, that's how I kind of feel, and I don't know if I want to make that wrong choice here in Seattle. So there was only one other team that I was kind of on the fence on. I'm not going to say I'm going to avoid them completely yet, but they're on the verge, okay? And it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs, and another one of those offenses that makes you perk up, because usually the offensive backfield in Kansas City puts up some points, right? For sure. But now they have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Ronald Jones, Derek Gore, and they just drafted Isaiah Pacheco. Maybe you don't even know who he is, but he's a solid pass-catching back that could challenge for some work here in 2022. And we know Andy Reid, he's not dedicated to anyone, right? We've seen that in the past with everybody. It didn't even matter who. You could go back to Jamal Charles days, and there was times where that guy wasn't even getting enough volume from what you would expect out of a talent that size. So you know it's going to happen. You know Andy Reid is the type of guy who's going to punish for mistakes, and you have a team full of running backs that make mistakes, similar to what we've seen in years past with Ronald Jones on different teams in Tampa Bay, right? You fumble, you're on the bench. That's going to happen again in Kansas City. It's just the same type of coaching style with Andy Reid, and now that we have multiple options, I don't love it, right? I don't love it. I'm kind of going to want to see how this clears out a little bit over the offseason before I make any final determinations, but as of right now, the Chiefs are definitely on the fence of a backfield that I really don't want anything to do with, but this is what makes it fun and interesting, right? It's still a little bit early. It's May. How do you feel about these backfields? Are there any other teams out there that you look at and you really don't want a part of them? Remember, we have a signed, autographed, authenticated autographed Cordero Patterson Atlanta Falcons jersey. Maybe the Falcons are a team that you'd like to throw on this list. Honestly, like I said at the beginning, if it wasn't for this dude, they'd be on the list for me as well. But if you're interested, leave that comment down below. Sign up for that free account at Pristine Auction. There's a link down below in the description. Use that referral code Headliners. Get yourself $10 off your first purchase whenever you decide to make that happen. And then you'll be entered in and eligible for all these giveaways. Like I said, another video coming up here super soon. I probably have 15 to 20 items to show you on camera that we're going to be giving away here in the coming weeks. So make sure you stay tuned. It's going to be a lot of bangers coming up and a lot of things that you're going to want to add to your collection. So hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day, a great week, and we'll talk to you later.